Everybody, thanks for coming out today. It's an honor to be here with so many brilliant and committed folks. And I'm Melanie Brazzell. I'm a PhD student at UC Santa Barbara. And the first thing to say is that I am on wildcat strike. Yes. With my fellow grad student workers at Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara, Davis, I think now San Diego. Berkeley is poised to go on strike next week, so hopefully all 10 campuses will be in. And we are fighting for a cost of living adjustment, a COLA, to address the California housing crisis and give us a living wage. And if you want to support, you can contribute to Santa Cruz's or now Santa Barbara's strike fund. You can also sign our union's petition. And I appreciate the support that the center has given to the striking workers today, which is the reason that I'm able to participate in what is basically my dream conference. So I'm here to talk about my research on the community accountability and transformative justice movement, which I sometimes abbreviate as CATJ. And I understand that movement to be created by women, gender nonconforming, and trans people of color, and very much rooted in the Black radical tradition of abolitionism. And my research goes under the name the What Really Makes Us Safe Project, and that started through my own work as a practitioner with the Berlin Transformative Justice Collective in Germany. And it evolved into an interview project for my master's, which morphed then into a website with interview excerpts and my findings. And I also brought what I learned back to my Berlin community as a lot of community engagement work, developing a toolkit, public events, things like that. And so now I'm expanding all of that for my dissertation. And my goal is to kind of try to map and document and theorize together with this emerging movement. And these are some of the lovely people that I talked to so far, and I also wanted to lift up the names of their organizations as well, which have done so much to advance CATJ theory and practice. And I'm not going to read them all because I only have 5 minutes, so I have to keep moving. But I recommend that you check them out. All right, so this is the academic-y part. So, recent public discussion of CATJ in the context of Me Too has largely focused on the benefits of a non-punitive response to violence for people who cause harm. And I want to explore a more challenging argument that TJ also offers an innovative theory for rethinking survivor safety, and that it has benefits for survivors as well. And I want to contrast the conceptual frameworks of carceral feminism and transformative justice. We often talk about individual examples of carceral feminism, the Violence Against Women Act, anti-sex trafficking activism that's often de facto anti-sex work, sex offender registries, etc. But I want to look at the underlying concept of security for survivors that unites all of these examples. And this concept of security uses gender-based violence as an alibi for the carceral state, even though we know it is the outcome of that state. So this security is a sort of contradiction. Carceral security produces the very violence it claims to protect women against. And I say women here intentionally, like without, not inclusive and not trans, because we know that carceral feminism often thinks about women as a essentializing category. And so I want to contrast this concept of security to what I call abolitionist safety, so a kind of nascent reimagining of safety that I see happening in CATJ work. Oh, you really can't read that well. That's a bummer. Okay, well, since I'm really into charts, I wanted to contrast safety and security in 4 different ways. So I'm looking at how they differ, one, in their understanding of violence, in their concept of power, in their theory of the subject, and in the response to violence that they offer. So whereas, this first one we're going to talk about violence, it says individual, and here it says intersectional. So whereas security understands violence as individual, safety uses an intersectional lens to consider the interactions of structural, institutional, and interpersonal forms of violence. And I argue that carceral feminism's, quote, wounded attachments to a passive victim identity have made it dependent on the masculinist protection of the state. So that's under power for security, it says paternalist protection. And in contrast to that, a theory of abolitionist safety foregrounds survivor self-determination rather than state sovereignty. And I think there's a lot of provocation there around, what does self-determination mean at many levels of our society? In terms of these two models and their concepts of the subject, so that top one under security says victim/perpetrator binary, and the bottom says interrelational. So these two models are also marked by divergent concepts of the self. Security is structured around binary moral identities, victim-perpetrator, safe-dangerous, and these are also mutually exclusive, so you're either one or the other. Whereas safety imagines the self through indigenous, Black, and feminist ontologies of interrelationality within networks of community. And lastly, security's response to violence is separation and isolation, or the word I have up there is containment, either in the form of the prison or even something like the women's shelter. In contrast, interrelationality serves as both method and goal for abolitionist safety by engaging communities to address violent systems and behaviors, right, rather than try to geographically remove them. So rather than dependence on bordered police spaces, in my paper I draw on generative somatics work on healing justice to reconceptualize safety as a tool belt and a set of tactics to be deployed for greater survivor self-determination, not a safe, bounded, policed safe space. And that's why the logo that you saw earlier for the What Really Makes Us Safe project is a sewing kit. This is a traditional German sewing kit, so it's kind of my idea of a queer femme toolbox of sorts. Perfect timing. So thank you very much. And I'm really excited for the conversation with my fellow panelists, so thank you.